The Life of Mohammed by George Sale. The motivation of the translation, as we have seen, indicated thus far, kind of gives a foreshadowing of the sort of text that this is going to be. I think there was a French text, which is the main influence of this, which was influenced by something in Latin. We are informed by historians that many famous cities distinguished above others for literature and commerce contended which of them should have the honor of being the birthplace of Homer. He was the prince and father of poets, and has acquired the just admiration and astonishment of the world. Such a contest was, therefore, commendable, as it evinced the high opinion which men of that period had of unexampled merit. Which is very much the case in terms of Muhammad, at least what's survived, right? But when the character of Muhammad is attentively surveyed, whether delineated by friends or enemies, the picture is so shocking, because aside from the prophethood and certain ethical standards, he's pretty ordinary in terms of that it is a wonder in the place of his nativity has not been buried in oblivion. Well, most of the prophetic figures have been forgotten even in name, and even more of them, we don't know where they were buried, or we don't know certain parts of their message. But as I pointed out in earlier content of this year, that the Bible, the thing about the Bible is that, the biblical account of Jesus is that the message wasn't about him. He was not making it about it spreading his name. He wanted so he could have passed into oblivion too. Any country might blush to have produced such a monster. So great, however, has the veneration of the Arabians for this arch deceiver always been, that they have not left it problematical. Where he first drew his breath, everything concerning him was deemed of too much importance not to be made public, when even his remarks in the course of conversation were considered as oracles. Now, what good would a prophet be if they were preaching their side doctrine? Just like it says in the Bible of Jesus, that he spoke not his own doctrine, but the one that sent them. So, and outside of that, somebody who is the living word, living the examples of what was revealed and inspired to them. People take it too far and try to say it's like, well, I like to eat barley for breakfast because the prophet ate barley for breakfast. And he was born at Mecca, a city of Arabia, famous for nothing so much as for the pilgrimages made to it, both before and after the establishment of his religion, if it be not a prostitution of the word to give it such a name. Now, Muhammad, just like Zoroaster and Jesus and stuff before him, despised the founding of religions. Paul basically said, well, out of the old, I'm rendering the new, and don't take any of that stuff literally. It's just it's just a dark visage of what I am telling you now about Christianity. So, he was descended from a tribe called the Quraysh, said to be the most considerable in point of influence and wealth, the two great idols of human ambition. The origin of this tribe was one fairer Quraysh, who had no doubt acquired his importance by rapine and plunder, which appears to have been the chief trade of that unhappy country. This being the true descent of Muhammad according to the testimony of the most reputed authors, he was not a man of that obscure, mean, despicable origin which many have asserted. Well, and then we're going to find out that he was poor and powerless and obscure. Well, nobody's absolutely powerless, but you know what I mean. And he wasn't a descendant of prostitutes and stuff like the Bible has for Jesus. And what about the other characters in the ancient Israelites that did some very bad things, even according to the Jews and the Christians? Your ancestry, that's no credit, no demerit to you either. Those who read little and think less are ever apt to be led away by those accounts of a person they dislike, which they imagine will degrade him in the estimation of the world. This has often been the unjustifiable conduct of too many Christians, forgetting that it would not have diminished the sterling worth of Muhammad had he been possessed of any, though he had been brought forth by a beggar at the root of a hedge, nor will it ever detract from that just infamy which he has brought upon himself in the eyes of true discernment. You know, by true discernment, of course, they mean Christian judgment, that he was the hated spawn of opulence and power. Hating people because there was wealth in your ancestry? Nonsense. The nature and circumstances of a man's birth, being wholly independent of himself, make no part of the value or insignificance of his character. But as to Muhammad, it is not true that his parentage was mean and obscure. Known for noble character, but yeah, kind of obscure. They weren't the leaders of the tribe or something. It is indeed a popular blunder which passes with the ignorant as a matter of fact, and which Paine has adopted in his Age of Reason. Owing to the circumscribed nature of his education, Moses, says he, was a foundling. Jesus Christ was born in a stable, and Muhammad was a mule driver. The design of this sentence is too obvious to require a comment. Well, some people might not get that the whole point is saying that you got this humble origins, and they were one of the people, so they could talk to the people and provide a realistic example. The design for at any time he would barter his reputation. I don't know about Thomas, not Muhammad definitely, but I'm not sure you could say that about Thomas Paine. But a lot of Christians really didn't like Thomas Paine because he was using his rationale rather than blindly accepting whatever conservative Christians wanted him to think. We had almost said his soul for a stroke at Christianity, but to proceed with our narrative, Muhammad's father died when he was only 2 years of age, which involved his mother, Amina, and himself in poverty and distress. All of the wealth of which his father was possessed devolved to his uncles, the principal share, which became the property of Abu Talib, that uncle who supported him so powerfully in the propagating of his imposture by, not supporting. Abu Talib was not known for anything except don't kill him, but don't encourage him either. That's basically what you see for the most part. But there's indication he may have died. There's indication that he died a believer. Those who say that he didn't, because certain things aren't made too clear. But yeah, he wasn't known for supporting the propagation of Islam, and preserved them on many occasions from being cut off by his enemies. Yes, this sense of tribal honor, not to let your family be killed. 6 years after the death of his father, his mother died also, and thus he became an almost destitute orphan at an early period of life. His grandfather, indeed, whose name was Abdul Muttalib, took him home to his house, but to enjoy the benefit of his generosity only a short time, for Abdul Muttalib died the following year. Then Abu Talib, his uncle, took him under his protection, and in the language of Oriental historians, maintained him out of charity. With Abu Talib he lived 16 years, being trained up by him with the employment of a merchant, chief source of wealth among the great men of that country. They traded to Syria, Persia, and Egypt, carrying thither such articles of commerce as they received from India, Ethiopia, and other southern regions of the globe. Mohammed served his uncle with fidelity and advantage. He left him of his own accord. At this period, being now 25 years of age, a circumstance happened in Mecca peculiarly favorable to the advancement of his projected scheme. A merchant of considerable wealth and influence, dying in the city, his widow, to whom he left the whole of his possessions and stock in trade, resolved to carry on the traffic of her husband, by which he had acquired his eminence. But being destitute of a person properly qualified for an agent or factor to foreign countries, she applied to Mohammed. Whether she knew him to be fit for this office, or depended on the attestations of such as were well acquainted with him, is not certain. Well, it kind of is certain. She made him such eligible and inviting offers as he did not deem it prudent to reject.